I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm not too sure. We're probably going to get some people calling in. So if you haven't done so already, please be sure that you mute your phones. That way we can avoid any background noise, any interruptions to the webinar. Won't keep you as long as I usually do each week. I know I tend to talk a lot, and you guys should know that by now, being my market. But I want to get through this as quickly as possible. As you guys see and know and understand, what we want to cover today are we want to discuss collections, right? It's the ongoing headache that a lot of you who are in charge of doing this understands all too well. But when we start breaking this apart and we take a look at this and just sort of look at the details and its purpose and understanding the process a little bit better, we'll notice that we will start to have better processes in place. So what we're going to cover today is a few things. We're going to understand what the real threat of collections are and or lack thereof, the tools that you guys have and how to use them, how collections fits into your leadership role, of course, SMART goals and collections. SMART, obviously, you guys have attended any of my trainings before. You know that acronym, SMART meaning specific, measurable, achievable, and realistic, as well as time-based. Usually whenever you are a leader, that is typically the best thing to go by because every goal should be a SMART goal. That way you leave no room for error or no room for miscommunications, which ultimately in turn will create non-productivity and goals do not get hit. Handling collections objections, that's huge. Measurements and tools to use in your collections processes, and then ultimately following your system and processes. So taking a look at the tools of what you guys have, these are specifically for your assistants. Now, these are available on Orion. However, the calendar that you see below of the screenshot with your Google Calendar, that is something that is within your Gmail account. Now, if you don't use a Gmail account for your role in the spa, whether it's Outlook or Yahoo or AOL. I'm not too sure what. There's a ton of different emails that everyone uses these days, but all in all, they all come equipped with a calendar for you to use that does give you the capability of syncing all things on your calendar to your phone. So first things first, if you do not have that set up to go to your phone as a reminder, do that immediately in your email account that you use for the spa. That's one of the first things that you should knock out, regardless of if it's for collections or not, is syncing your calendar to your cell phone. That's going to be big and major for all of the things that you have to manage all the time. So that's the first step that you need to use. The EFT Collections Manual is a process manual. Basically, what it does is covers all things from top to bottom and all the basic trainings of EFT collections that you guys are probably, at this point, I'm pretty sure, you are already trained up on. We're not going to cover basics today because that's something that you can get from, one-on-one from your regional developer or your spa performance consultant. This is more so an advanced on how to use this to your best advantage. So the EFT Collections Manual I found to be a very beneficial tool because it sort of answers any questions that you might have. It gives you sort of a step-by-step process on how to follow the system, how to utilize the tools at your best, to your best ability. And also the collections call log might look familiar to you over there to the left. That is actually the prospecting log that we took and sort of tailored it to be for collections outreach. Now, everyone these days you guys are going digital, which is great. You're saving paper, and that's great. If you want to create an Excel spreadsheet that looks similar to this to be able to follow, that's also great. But managers or franchisees acting as managers, you have a management binder, or I'm sure that you have one go-to place where you keep all of your files, all of your paperwork, your documents, everything that you need as a manager. If you just print up a couple of these and put those in these binders or in these files in these places wherever your current documentations are for your role, you could use this. This might be something that could be completely different from the tracking binders. It could be different from the digital call logs for prospecting and lead gathering. I would recommend putting this completely separate because it is a definite complete polar opposite of your job, which is just as detrimental. So just a couple of different tools that, I mean, in the past, these are the things that I've used. I kept it basic. We didn't have an EFT collections manual, however, a process in place of having some kind of one dedicated place where I would go to, and a reminder system as well. That's huge. Um, so let's take a look at your role here. Now, spa directors, you guys know the three R's, right? Reds, ratio, retention. That's going to stick with you as long as you have a career here, and franchisees as well. As long as you own your business, you guys will follow the Reds, ratio, retention rule, right? Well, breaking that down, that has a ton of different small details within each and every one of those three R's, right? The three R's are what we like to call the big rocks. All the details of the reds and ratio and retention and the different quadrants and the different phases, all of those are what we call little rocks. Well, I like to look at it as this. When I was in a spa and when I talk to top spas and I get this feedback and I learn what's still working, what doesn't work anymore, what is new that's working, what I've noticed is that as long as now the top performing locations, their spa directors or their franchisees are walking in the doors every day, the moment that they open the door and set foot in their spa, their two things on their mind are growth and retention. Now, it sounds similar to Reds ratio retention, and it is, but it's basically taking the mindset of the Reds ratio retention and it's even combining it even more to make it less steps, less overwhelming, right? It seems a little silly, but it's a tad bit of a psychology fact here. If I know that my role when I walk in is it's my responsibility for this business to grow and to be able to retain the growth that I'm seeing and be able to retain everything and stop that leak, right? Of anybody who goes delinquent, anybody who cancels, then everything else will seemingly fall into place, right? If my focus for growth is, well, in order for me to grow, I need to book Reds. In order for me to book Reds, I need to market. In order for me to have Red appointments that show from my marketing, I need to have a great staff in place. So I'm going to understand what I'm going to need to do. I'm going to understand my step-by-step process. I'll have my own system in place of a time management schedule to be able to focus on all of these aspects of growth. And retention is the same. Any and all opportunities that you hear in the spa, when you hear someone say, yeah, I don't know, I haven't come in so long, I'm thinking about just canceling my membership. Although that's not a technical cancel, it's still a contemplation to cancel, and that's only a matter of time before that member does that. That needs to be nipped in the bud, and you need to have staff that is fully trained to be aware of hearing this and know how to conduct a conversation and approach the conversation of, well, that's because we have not ever put you on a product and services regime. Let's go ahead and get you set up on that. That way you can actually start using this stuff and you can see the benefits from it, and knowing how to direct the conversation from there, whether they agree to it or whether it's time for you to have the conversation to transfer that membership, right? So whenever you walk into those four walls, like I said, the two main focuses should always be the goals. What are your goals? And plugging up any leaks, allocating any uncollected dues. So just going through that, wanted to sort of go through that with a little bit of less processes and procedures and less sounding like a manual to you guys and more relatable to you guys just because I've been there. And I do know that the struggle is very real when it comes to collections. And this is just a little bit of information for you. It's all based on opportunity. It's all based on situational events. Knowing that in the back of your mind, if your EFT situation is you got a whole bunch of people trying to cancel and you have that on your plate, well, if you reach out and you want to talk to these people and try to save them, just remember whenever your goal is growth and whenever your goal is I want to hit my bonus that I get whenever I get my net EFT at a certain point, right? If I know that and understand that, well, obviously somebody who wants to cancel me, I'm not necessarily going to go in for the freeze first. Why? Because that's just 20% of whatever the dues that they're paying. If they find someone to transfer, however, a friend or family that one-time transfer for our new memberships only, of course, then I'm going to get the full payment next month. So it's critical thinking, you guys, and it's just things like that whenever you see opportunities like that and whenever you are able to approach a conversation with them, which we're going to go into in a little bit, keep those things in the back of your mind, because as long as these two things are happening constantly to the moment that you, honestly, if you're a spa director, you don't clock out. You don't clock in or out. You're always working. You're always thinking about this stuff. But from the moment that you leave from the spa, you need to be thinking these two things, and those types of critical thinking tactics will just fall into its place. So a couple of different overcoming objections for collections ideas. The first thing that I'll tell you is, like I've said before in trainings, when we talked about your approach, when we talked about staff, having the right people in place. Well, there's two different types of people that handle their collections. There are like me, I was the control freak. I was the one saying, if my staff members ever talk to anyone who tries canceling and they try to save them or they try to freeze them, I'm going to lose my mind, because I want to be in control of every single person that wants to leave here. I want to have those conversations, right? But then there are spa directors that teach their team to be leaders themselves, which is also positive. And they want to, at all costs, if you hear that conversation happening, if somebody requests to cancel, you do it. By all means, do what you need to do to save them at that moment. Don't wait for me. Both are fine. And both of them have its faults, and both of them have its, good points about it. But either way, right now, what's happening currently is, and I can tell you many of you that are listening in right now are probably going to have your aha moment, or you're going to nod your head and say, yep, that's totally right. When somebody puts in for a cancel, at the time when you are trying to set a service for a member, you have a red appointment sitting on your couch, you're the only one up front that will be able to handle the situation. Meanwhile, there's somebody in a service room that doesn't know how to use it correctly and needs help and assistance. What's the number one thing that you do? You know what, I'm just going to cancel, because I don't even have time to have this discussion with this person. I'm going to process this, and I'm going to revisit it later. I'll call her back, or when she comes in again, I'm going to have the discussion with her. And what happens then slips through the cracks, right? So, of course, naturally, and nobody blames you, because that's just the way that the flow goes at times. However, when we gear towards the end of this webinar, you're going to see this process that's been used for years, and a process that our top spas are using, that are finally getting comfortable and allocated in their roles. And hopefully it'll work for you guys. It's just a matter of implementing it. It's up to you once it's given to you, right? So just a few things. If you connect with them, with a delinquent member, if you're lucky enough to get them on the phone, remembering that even though you might not seem like you're coming across like you're strong-arming them, like you're being forceful, firm, right? Remember not to be that way, but work with them. Don't strong-arm them. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're aggravated because you do this every month with this member. I know the feeling, right? So that's going to happen. However, just know that for many of you out there, that's going to show in the tone of your voice. And remember how we always talk about the phone greeting when we say smile at the phone before picking it up, and everybody's always thought we were psychos for that. Like, why am I going to smile at the phone like a crazy person? But we always tell you that people can hear when you're smiling. Well, that goes both ways. People can hear when you're annoyed and aggravated, and a lot of the times when people go uncollected, or when they have their accounts that don't go through for whatever the case might be, they're embarrassed already. So the chances of you being able to have these people wanting to stay with you and like you, if you are making them feel like you're strong-arming them, guess what? It's slim to none. They're not going to want to be helpful. They're not going to be appreciative, and that's if they even answer. But if you do get lucky enough to connect with them on the phone call conversation, the first or second one, be assured that in your voice, you're sounding reassuring. Like, listen, the good news here, Barbara, is that we don't use a collections agency, so don't worry, don't stress out. I know it sounds to me like you're going through some struggles. I totally get that feeling, when it comes to, you have a commission-based job, it's been slow, and your payment didn't go through. I get it. We've all been there at some point, but the good news is we work with each and every one of our members, so what do I need to do to make sure that you're set up safe and you don't lose this membership, because it's not going to be around, this price point, it's nearly doubled, right? Or whatever the case might be. And I'm saying that as a reassuring, right? But I'm not so much going, hey, did you get a new credit card? Well, then, I'm not going to be able to avoid any late fees. I'm going to need something before today. Two different ways to handle it, right? So although sometimes we're gonna go back to approach here. Your staff members, if they're the ones handling it, or yourself, assess yourself. Take critical, or take the constructive criticism from those around you. What do I sound like? And don't take it to heart, because chances are, if you're in denial about what you sound like, no, I'm a pleasure to deal with. I'm charming. What the heck is your problem? It's your problem, right? Um, some of us are like that, and unfortunately, that exudes in how we manage and how we communicate. So be sure that however you're saying it, however you're coming across, and however you're talking to them, be sure that you're speaking to them the way you want to be spoken to, because probably yourselves, if they're getting offended, or if they're not answering, or if they're fussing back at you and somehow turning this around on you, which does happen. I do remember that. Then chances are they have a guard up, and it's because it's something that you're saying or doing. So again, don't strong arm them. Work with them. There isn't a right or wrong party here, and it's not worth the bad reviews, guys. So just keep that in mind. We're already fighting this digital age, this online age, right, where people are going on there posting about this terrible experience and how you guys were yelling at them and you're just awful people. That's their perception. And unfortunately, we got to deal with that already with customer service and your experience for everything else in the spa. Let's not make it easier for anyone who might seem like you are being rude to them, or making them feel like they're worthless, or making them feel like, they should be embarrassed and ashamed of themselves, right? There's not a right and wrong party here, although you and I both know if a collections doesn't come through for insufficient funds. We know this, but nobody's right and wrong. So customer service comes first in this situation. You never want them to go back and say, I had a bad week, or I had a bad payday. The girl was not willing to work with me. All she cared about was my credit card number. I tried to cancel, and she threatened to have to charge me $99 and then 2 months, and you can't even afford one payment. So what are you talking about? And so don't ever go here. So keep that in mind. Who's talking to them? What do they sound like? Always remember to make them feel like you want to help them, not that you only care about their money. Offering downgraded programs. This is, guys, something you guys forget a lot. Most of the time, we're so focused on reaching out to them just to collect. And when we have someone who is a habitual in collections person, but they always end up paying, and I know you guys probably have a couple of people like that, instead of having to add that to your task list every single month, consider, what, this person may not be able to afford this. I'm going to talk to them about the limited program. Maybe 39 is too much. And if you know that they're in college, if you know that they're in financial situations where they don't get paid until a specific time of the week or month, based on when you run the draft, then pay attention to that trend and make a note in the account or make a note on your call log. Discuss downgrade opportunities if it means it's going to easily go through each month. I don't want to have this dog and pony show every single month with the same people. So don't forget about that, you guys, because I know we're so obsessed with just being able to collect that we're forgetting to use our thinking caps and figure out solutions, long-term solutions. Know your options, and when it's a major problem, if you do not collect, well, you'll know how to find the solutions. So just like we discussed just now, offering downgraded programs to those who are habitual, delinquent members, that's just one thing. But knowing what the options are to work with. Do I need to waive your payment this month, or do I need to work with you on a payment plan? Maybe you can allow me to automatically charge your credit card on file once a week. If you need to work something specific out with this member, at the end of the day, it might seem like extra steps for you and you might seem disgruntled, but you're collecting your net EFT. Your member feels like you care about them and that you want to work with them, and it's great customer service. So it's a win-win. What's going to happen is great referrals from that as well. So keep that kind of stuff in mind. Know your options. The sky is the limit when it comes to working out something with these members. There's always something, right? So in the EFT collections manual, you'll see a process, which this is sort of an overview for, but just so that you feel like you're taking something from this specific webinar. It's not as detailed, but it's an idea, it's a snapshot. Your processes and your resources here. Day one of your draft, as soon as you run that draft and you see who did not go through, the first thing you need to do is look to see, are they not going through for any purposes of not having money, or is this an institution problem, whatever they're banking with? Do not honors are probably the biggest vague and the biggest headache when it comes to non-collected dues, because that can mean anything from their name is in the system incorrectly to their bank account or their bank that they use. Maybe they're a member at Planet Fitness and they saw Planet Beach, and the bank will see that immediately and identify that as, oh, it's a duplicate charge, so we're going to stop whatever one the second one is. That's been known to happen. Whatever the case might be, go for the easiest first is what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you that little tip. The easiest is, most of the time, if it's the first offense, I say offense, but it's the first strike on a member, you see that this was the first payment that did not go through, they don't have 2-3 months loaded up. Well, obviously, I am going to reach out to them first and foremost, because chances are they did not know anything about this, and you want to give them a courtesy call saying, hey, sorry to bother you, but pretty much what's going on, and we've noticed a lot of in the recent year, ever since that big Target, massacre where people were, losing their minds, had to get new cards because everybody who used their card at Target and Walmart and Home Depot, their accounts got rendered. Institutions are really cracking down from this. So we need to pay close attention to that. And we need to use that in our conversations. Like, we know we don't want to inconvenience you, but, ever since this had happened, we noticed an increase, an incline in this with our members, and we're so sorry to do this, but wanted to reach out to you because what we've noticed is it seems like either you got a new account or we have the information entered in incorrectly, which I don't believe is either or, but there could be some certain restrictions on your institution has put on your account that is not allowing us to collect for your program. What do you want to do about that? Would you like to just go ahead and change something or change your account information? Always the best thing there, guys, is get a routing number and an account number. The best for collections is ACH, simply because it's a lot more difficult for anybody to get a rendered, lost or stolen or canceled credit card. It's a lot easier to do that versus canceling an entire checking account that they have all their bills coming out of each month. So that, on top of the fact that there's a higher success rate for collections for ACH. So at these moments when you connect with them, always remember to try to switch them over to an ACH rather than have a credit card or a debit card on file. If you want to keep that card on file to use when they make retail purchases, that's a really great idea. That way you can sell to them in the future, and they won't need to have their wallets or their credit cards and things like that on them. You'll have it on file, but this is that time where you want to pay close attention to those error codes so you know how to make that approach. But day one, day of the draft, look, analyze who will be the easiest, make a traditional phone call and leave voicemail, and then send an email follow-up. Now, don't just send whatever you think you need to send. We have scripts for this, you guys. We have people that have used these scripts for years that have been proven to be effective, and that is available on Orion and Spa Performance. If you want me to just, go ahead and go through it with you on a separate call, I'm more than happy to do so, but send the email follow-up and after you leave a voicemail if you're unable to connect. The second day, the day after the draft, you'll do another traditional call, leave a voicemail, and then shoot a text message, of course, in your Google Voice app that you have, that you set up your phone number with, that many of you love so much today. Wait about a day and then call again on day 4, and then follow the call system, then do the text, and send another email. Then you're going to print up a letter that's going to be sent in the mail, and you're going to put it out for mail. Next day, you'll try another call, right, and leave a voicemail if necessary. Hopefully at this point you won't have to, but the letter will go out, and on the next day it should probably be received if you have accurate information on file for that person. And every other day for the rest of the month or for the rest of the week, you're going to do the traditional call or text message. I used to like to rotate it, but all in all, knock these out the first week. By the 8th, 9th of the month, have the bulk of this really done out of the way, where you're just periodically checking in on that call log to see who you need to follow up with, and so on and so forth. Just some additional tips and bullets. There are other ways to contact your members, especially if you know that you're members. I have on here Facebook outreach. Now, a lot of you know, you have relationships with your members to the point where maybe you have, you are personally Facebook friends with them. I'm still Facebook friends with so many of my members that I miss so much. But you guys probably have that, if not the spa. right? They're following the spa's Facebook page, and that could be a way for you to go in under the spa's Facebook page and send a message to them individually, or a chat, right? Or, something to that effect where you can contact them and you have that relationship and you're fortunate enough. If not, just remember to utilize other tools like their other members that are acquaintances or friends with the delinquent member. Obviously, don't tell the member, hey, trying to track your friend George down because he's a little bit behind on his payments. But, you can have a conversation with any members that maybe this person referred or maybe the member works with or is friends with, and just say, hey, I've been trying to get in touch with George because I had something here for him that he requested. Do you think maybe you can text him whenever you're in here or later on, or call him, or just let him know, that I have something for him that I think he really wants to hear about, just based on what he's got here at the spa. Now that, to me, if I'm George, right, and I'm telling a referring member, hey, Danielle at Planet Beach said she's got something that you really want to hear about, because of something that you have over at Planet Beach, and she really is excited about it. She wants to tell you all about it. Then I'm going to be thinking to myself, well, if I'm ducking your calls at Planet Beach because I don't have money to pay for you, sounds to me like, you have an idea for me, or you have a solution for me, so I might have a better chance of calling you back that way. So remember to use those critical thinking, the solutions, right? We need to think like this. Utilizing all of our resources. Offering the forgiveness / clean slate in your communications is always key. All this follow-up that you see on this specific slide, you guys, you're thinking to yourself, my God, that's a lot of phone calls, that's a lot of text messages. You're not saying the same thing. Keep in mind, you're not harping, right? What you're doing here is you're having different types of communications, and you're saying completely different things based on, from the very beginning, being something, very nice, taking the blame yourself, all the way through, look, we need to get you collected, sort of, right? So offering in one of these outreaches here, whether it's the second, third, or fourth, hey, listen, I want to remind you that we don't do any type of third-party collections, right? So I want to offer a forgiveness, or I want to offer the clean slate for you. I'll wipe you out clean if you'd like, and we could start you off with a lesser membership, right? Or program. Let's get you back in the door because we miss you, and we don't want this to be a reason you stop coming to Planet Beach because, and we're going to go into the detail of that in just a second. But remembering to offer that within your communications, not just, hey, call me, right? If you put that out there, if you're lucky enough, if you are, advanced enough and you're using the text message services in your spa already, you'll know that they're going to see that message instantly. Communicate it then. Don't wait for them to call you back. They never will. It's almost never that they do. Incentivize them by communicating that they can still have and use their program by telling them about Ambassador Program. Listen, all you need to do is refer somebody, right? So, hey, let's say we connect, right? I'm on the phone with George. George, we connected because you called me since your friend went back and told you to, hey, yeah, I wanted to tell you something. I know that you probably got my phone calls, but I wasn't calling to annoy you, or I understand I understand life happens, right? But what I was trying to reach out to you to talk to you about was, if whatever's going on right now is preventing you from using your Planet Beach program, then I wanted to discuss with you, let's see who we can get in over here for a day of spa that you want to gift that to. If any of these people sign up, George, then don't worry about this month, right? If we get them joined as a member the same way you did, then you won't have to worry about this month. And then, if you get more than one, if you get two, next month, you don't have to worry about that either. So that's just, again, figuring out solutions to problems that are genuine issues that you're having and faced every day. If you're allocating 2 additional members from George, then guess what? You're not so worried about George's $39 payment, right? So keep that in mind as well. Work out payment plans like we discussed. You want to break it down each week where, always don't ever rely on them coming in with cash. I always say ask if you can charge whatever card that they have on file. Or, if they want to bring in cash, say, okay, but if you don't, I'm going to go ahead and just run the card each week, right? But always know that, if you work out a payment plan like that, having something that's a guarantee versus just trusting they'll come in is always, always important. Another tip, guys, if they're 2 to 3 months is usually what I say, 90 days. If they're 3 months or more delinquent, cancel their account. Not worth it. Don't chase ghosts, and don't put double, triple work on yourselves, because that's just going to drive you mad. Clean slate it after so long, then obviously send a notification out. Wanted to let you know, obviously I was trying to avoid this from happening, but if you are ever interested in restarting this program, something I used to do that you might be able to find beneficial is anytime that I would go through this and cancel an account based on, decline or non-payment, delinquency, whatever the case might be, I'd send out another letter and email basically stating to them, I went ahead and your account had automatically canceled. I went ahead and made sure all of your payment information had been deleted from the account, so you're no longer a member here at Planet Beach. However, you do have 14 days to the date that you receive this notification to be able to reclaim your membership at the price point that you had it at. For details on this, please give us a call, because we'll work with you as far as getting set up with this, cleaning your slate, right? We have the forgiveness, the grace, the 14-day grace period, where we'll go ahead and wipe that balance that you have completely out if you want to reclaim this and get a lesser price point membership, whatever. But once they see that, all those communications from before that they didn't answer you on, they'll start thinking, man, they were trying to work with me before, and if they're willing to work with me now and I have 14 days, you'll probably get them back. Again, it's probably in your mind if you're thinking that's not somebody I want back because they can't seem to follow up and follow through with their payments. Well, how much were they paying a month? Offer them a lesser price point membership. Maybe they just couldn't afford it, but they can afford $19 a month, right? So keep that in mind and make sure that you're saving it when you're doing your cancellations for this, you guys. Make sure you're logging it correctly, because this is the stuff we research which causes us to make the changes company-wide that are passed down to you. So if you're not putting accurate information in here, we roll out with a process next month, and guess what? We were only analyzing the data and information that you're placing into your software. So be sure that these specific scenarios, you're not saving it for financial or death or anything because you're just trying to get it done. Be sure that you're logging it under either non-payment delinquency or declined credit card or return, ACH. That's going to help us when it comes to future collections efforts and tactics, and also resources that are in the works right now for you guys that I'm really excited to see take place within the next year. So just remember that. Now I want to discuss this process for you guys. The process is key unless you put one in place, a system in place. Like I said, you always hear me on my trainings. Google Calendars, reminders, alerts, things like that. Unless I had it, I would have totally sucked at my job, and I would suck today. So let's be honest here. If you don't have any kind of follow-up system, follow-up and follow-through, everything's slipping through the cracks on you, and you're pulling your hair out wondering why you're not making money or keeping money, right? So I'm going to bring you back to something that I updated, but it's a little old school. Many of you seasoned veterans on here probably have seen this already, but this is the Saving Your Net EFT training that was done a very long time ago, but I did update it with our content and our current processes, procedures, and programs. Now, this is something that was basically taken from, and this could be applied for collections and cancellations. We're talking retention today, you guys. Now, mainly centered around collections, but you guys do have people canceling you left and right, and you're freaking out over there. So that's a real struggle, right? And as you guys may know, if you're a spa director or you're the spa director and a franchisee, you're the one managing this whole process. You're the one driving this whole ship, right? But you have so much on your plate. So this is why, in the past, whenever I had my own processes and procedures, I did this. So I want to pass this along to you because it was very helpful. If you can designate an hour a day, okay, now this is step one. Before you do anything, write this down, take screenshots, take pictures with your phone, whatever you got to do, but keep this information and start this today because we have a draft coming up tomorrow. So just keep this in mind. The spa director or person accountable take just 1 hour a day for 1 day a week. So it's not every single day unless it's right whenever you run your draft, right? But just 1 day a week that you could choose to take an hour out of it, who either are canceling or you want to put, this can go both ways, or who are, gone non-collected, right? And you're going to put that and you're going to save that in your Google Calendar, like we discussed, or your Outlook calendar, whatever you have your reminders set up to. You're going to save this in there as a recurring event. That's going to help you. First and foremost, make sure it's set up to your cell phone because you won't get the notifications to your cell phone. So get that knocked out of the way. And this is going to be the time that you're going to dedicate and you're going to remove yourself no matter come hell or high water. You are going to remove yourself from that lobby. You're going to get the heck out of Dodge. Even if you got to sit in your car, you don't have a back office, you don't have a laundry room, then sit in your vehicle because I've done this before. And let me tell you, if you're a spa director or a leader on this call, you know that you are always a control freak in every situation happening in your spa. You cannot do this when other things are happening around you. So if it's not you and you don't want to have this task, but you know somebody in mind that you want to have help you with this and take on retention, whether it's an assistant spa director or your highest selling spa consultant to show them, that you recognize their outstanding performance in your spa, incentivize them with this and commission them, right? If you save or you collect, I'll give you one-time 5% or 10% of whatever the monthly dues are for the member that you either collect from or you save. That's a really great way to incentivize them to make them want to do it if you want to ask for the help, or maybe this isn't your strong suit as the leader. Maybe you're better with dealing with growth and not retention. It's okay, but identify that and approach them with this opportunity. A filing system to be placed in order is key. If you have a filing cabinet anywhere in your spa, I highly recommend that you get specific with this. You already have one somewhere for your current memberships or your current programs for all of your members A to Z. We already have that in place, right? Well, you can utilize the same dang filing system, the same filing cabinet, right? You can use the same thing, just label one for collection/cancellations. But get another one in order, label it again, 26 file folders, A to Z, as if they were another place that you were putting member agreements. Usually alphabetical order by last name as you currently do. And then you're going to have 4 file folders that are going to remain up front by your computer at all times, visible and accessible to your entire staff, labeling them as follows: pending transfers, and open parentheses follow-up, requests to cancel, this could be 5. If you're looking at this from a collection standpoint, have one in there for uncollected dues, right? So you can have 5 up there. Or request to cancel is another. Memberships/programs saved, memberships up for recycle. So programs up for recycle/transfer. When you hear the word recycle throughout this, guys, that's a transfer. But it's done in-house, not by the member. FYI, that's the difference. So step 3, and hopefully you guys are writing this down and taking screenshots of that. I'll go back one more time in case you did not. Take a picture of it with your phone or take a screenshot really quick, but I'll let you do that. Now, the next step that you will have in place is create a new section divided in your existing tracking binders if you have them, and if not, create a binder for this. Have it separate, like I said at the beginning of the call. If you want to have a specific cancellation binder or collections binder, or I recommend if you're a spa director and you are actually doing the stuff that we talk about on our webinars and calls, A, good job, B, do it in your management binder that you have for your accountability meetings with your franchisee, and have it in there. This is going to assure the organization and separation of any tasks and job duties, and this is solely going to focus on the retention, the net EFT. So have it somewhere separate, and that way nothing else can get mixed up in the middle of all of that. Whether it's you or the assigned consultant or assistant spa director, whoever it might be, whoever this person is, you're going to designate the 1 hour once a week to set aside to the outreach of the members who either requested to cancel or are uncollected, right? And this is after the first week when you've done your daily collections again. Now, keep in mind the best days and times to do this outreach, this is based on my particular research. The best days and times to do any outreach follow-up after that first week is usually on Mondays or Fridays between 6 and 8 p.m. Now, why are these the best times to contact? Some of you might be going, no way, I don't think so, I don't agree. Well, here's why I've noticed this to be successful, along with seeing that other spas do this as well. A, you're more likely to get a response from your members after regular working hours. you guys know how the struggle goes with any type of outreach you're currently doing in your spa now. 9 to 5, nobody's answering phones because they're at work or they're in class, right? So that's obvious reasons. That's number one. Calling on a Monday evening can be beneficial for you because everybody tends to be in a more productive state of mind, and it's psychological to convince yourself that Monday is the start of a new week. Tasks are usually handled without procrastination and taken care of quickly. We have Monday motivation calls where we are testimonial to this, right? We always say shake off those the weekend and get out of the Monday funk and have some coffee, whatever you need to do, jumping jacks, run a mile, anything, right? So everybody else is doing the same thing, and they're typically ready to handle whatever the week has to throw at them. So that's usually why Mondays are a good choice. Now, on the flip side of that, reaching out on a Friday evening, most of you are thinking, no way, that's like date night. That's when everybody starts thinking about what I'm going to do for the weekend. They're already probably drinking a happy hour, whatever the case might be. Guess why that's beneficial to us? They're in a happier psyche, right? They're in a better mood. So if they just got paid, Yahtzee, right? But if they're out with their friends, or even if they're not, making sure that you go between 6 and 8 time frame is always a really good time to be able to stop them, slow them down, and go, hey, sorry to bug you before I head out for the weekend, wanted to reach out for blah, 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 right? So usually that's why the flip side always works for us a little bit better. Now, when you do this outreach, guys, it's super, 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 super important that you remember your role as consultants, that you're not salespeople. You are spa consultants. Even if you are a spa director, you are still a consultant. This is why we say if you're not going to be tasked with this and you don't do this, whoever you choose to put in its place has got to be your top selling consultant. The reason why is because they clearly understand how to manipulate a conversation to their benefit of a sale. And what we're doing right now is we're selling these people on why they need to stay members with us, because we all know that when we connect with some people, chances are in collections, they'll tell you, let's cancel my membership because I don't use it anyway and I can't afford it, right? So that's why it's important to have a really strong sales-minded consultant in the role of doing this if it's not yourselves. But remembering that they're consultants and they are professional solution finders is the best way that I can describe that to you guys. The consultants to have a separate computer / notebook, whatever the case might be, or their phone, not notebook, to use and access your member database, the point of sale system. And if there is no office area available, to assure that there's no distractions and a quiet atmosphere, then they are to do so when reaching out to the members. Then they're not going to be able to do this. So first of all, figure out where the platform is, right? They need to be allowed to be able to focus strictly on this task and no interruptions outside of this specific time. Seriously, that's why we're designating this time. Everything else can wait unless literally the spot is on fire and we need extra manpower to put it out. But once you've found that right place to give your undivided attention for that 1 hour, and mind you, when that 1 hour is up and that alarm goes off, whatever reminder goes off, whatever you're doing, you stop. And whenever you leave off at, you take note in your files, in your log, in your records that we discussed earlier. Because that, at that moment, whatever the next thing you need to do is priority. Now that is just management 101 that many of us are lacking today. And hopefully you guys get the understanding of that. I'll keep kicking that dead horse a lot throughout this call. But now that you've found the right place to go, whether it's your car or the back or the laundry room or the office, you're going to pull out that request to cancel or the collections file, right? That's up front by the counter. Purpose of this is you want to see who has put in for their cancellation during the week that was not with you, that your consultants may have printed up, had them sign, and they put that in there, right? So you'll go wherever you need to go to pull that up, or, your EFT processing screen records, whatever the case might be. And if you have the luxury of making a copy of each of these request forms so that you can take notes, and if not, don't worry about it, because you can have your own separate communications files and notes in that binder or that file system that we talked about. But if you have the luxury of just making a copy of this so you can jot notes down on the cancellation form, that's even better. Before you reach out to them, it's important that you research them. If you didn't sign this member up that's gone delinquent, or if you didn't sign the member up that's gone, rogue and now wants to cancel, don't presume to know them. without information. If you do know them, kudos, but you still need to do research even if you do know who the member is. You're going to pull their profile up in the software system and you're going to look at when they joined. You want to calculate any freezes if this is a cancellation and not a collections, right? So you want to calculate any of the freezes if they did have some, obviously, because that goes against their fulfillment date. Which services did they use the most of and which products did they purchase the most of? That's key, you guys, because that's your weapon. Right? If somebody tries to not come to you anymore or to avoid you because you're trying to collect from them and they're just going to eventually just not come, we want them to remember why they signed up with us in the first place. They loved using these certain particular services and products. So on the back of the cancellation request document or any notes that you have for your collections for that member name, you just write their name and then take some bullet point notes from this research. That's going to be very, very helpful with your success or lack thereof in your outreach. So you're almost ready to place the call. There's just one more thing that you need to do before you reach out, and that is if it's canceling a member, then knowing why they're canceling. Obviously, I'm not going to go through all this if they're moving. They can't physically use my spa. So I'm not going to worry about any of that stuff, about using these things as my weapon, right? If they can't help it and all I'm doing is making them more depressed that they can't come in, but I'm going to immediately know to talk to them about transferring their membership. And those are the 4 options that you guys are going to consult the member on based on their specific situation. Now, in a collection standpoint, this goes into all of those people who maybe have not ever responded to you, or it's their first offense, right? Their first strike. They've never answered any communication that you've given to them. That could be them, and it's like one of your last-ditch attempts to discuss this and communicate what their options are. Or, 2 months go by, nobody's called them in about a month, nobody's really paid much attention to them, made maybe one phone call and left a voicemail, but communicating the options that they have based on their specific collections situation. You can do that in your communications as well, and that's freeze, a downgrade, a freeze, and downgrade, and a transfer. You're obviously not going to consult a member requesting a cancel, a freeze, or downgrade, or both if their reason is moving. Obviously, the solution's a transfer, right? Or, if they go constantly each month or they lost their job, they don't have any money, that's clearly not anything you're going to collect on at all. So a downgrade's not feasible. So that would probably be in collections. You can offer them to transfer it, to give it away. And even if you have a good customer service skill set, you can say, and whenever you want to take it back, like give it to your mom or give it to your sister or your daughter or someone you can take it back from whenever you do want to get it back, right? That's always something too that I used to do. But it was over extenuating circumstances. Since it is a one-time transfer, you don't want them to get in the habit of doing that. But anyway, financial, lack of use, inconvenience, medical, depending on the severity of the issue, that right there, telltale sign of being able to freeze and downgrade. What's the benefit for the member? Well, you work out details and bargain on the fee and length of time you'll help freeze for. Can't afford it? What can they afford, right? Consult on the lesser cost memberships. Is it beneficial for you as a business owner and as a spa director looking to hit your EFT increase bonus this month, right? If, let's say, it's better to offer a downgrade versus a freeze or versus a transfer or an upgrade versus a transfer, if they can transfer it over to somebody else to take it, right? I'd rather get $39 versus, $8.90, right, next month. So I'm not going to go straight for that freeze, but I'm going to see what they can or cannot afford. Consult on the lesser cost memberships. Explain why they'll eventually come back and that you're just trying to avoid them and having to pay to re-enroll, because that's going to have to happen. Always, always, always remember, tip of the decade right here. Your prices, no matter what, have nearly doubled since they have become a member. So you just hate to see them lose this because you'll never be able to get it back, right? So you don't want to see them lose out in the end. And that right there, my friends, is how you turn from sounding like you're just trying to take their money to, I'm trying to help you, right? So they'll be more willing to work with you, thinking that you're just being a sweetheart, right? So they will work with you better. And guys, it's so important to be smart about this. You'll know where to go with conversations. Working with a member on their specific situation is what you do as a consultant when you overcome financial objections in signing up a new member, right? When somebody says they can't afford this, we always teach you guys to say, well, we don't want this financial reasons to be the reasons that you don't become a member with us. Flip it. I'm making collections calls right now. I don't want financial reasons to be the reasons you don't come in here at all. Like, don't feel like you can't come in and use services. We want to work out a payment plan with you. Let's go ahead and do something. Let's set something up once a week, right? Where we can do that with enrollment fees and we can do that with paid in fulls. So why not do it when we're collecting from our members and coming up with a solution for them to stay and giving them solutions on how to get their membership for free, but don't lose them, because we want to remember that it's important for them to stay and to get and stay hooked and get on a habit of coming in and using these services. That's like referral opportunity out of this world and great customer service reviews to keep more people coming in and future retail sales. So, be smart about it, and utilizing all of your resources and all of the avenues that you have at your fingertips, because you can definitely work everything out. Everything is negotiable. Remember that. Everything is always negotiable in your role to an extent, right? Until you give it away. You don't want to give away the farm, but at the same time, if it's got an end goal where you're profiting or you're just benefiting in general, keep that in mind as well and know the business side of it, right? If it means that you need to offer specific, if this is customer service based, if they're just like, I don't want anything to do with you. Maybe the manager before you handled it so poorly and you're just trying to collect from 2 or 3 months before. I'm sorry. What I'll do for you is for all of your sunless sessions, I'm going to go ahead and give you the next 2 months with no cartridge fee or something to that effect. Guess what? Business mindset of that, I'm collecting $59 a month from you. I don't care about the $2 to $3 cost of the cartridges that I'm giving away for free if it means that I'm going to collect another couple of months of $59 from you. So I'm going to do what I need to do, right? Keep that in mind. So if the member is canceling because the monthly usage fee is too high to fit in their budget, just remember that you're consulting a downgrade, right? Again, if it's a frequent non-collected, do whatever it takes to show the member you genuinely want to help them. The most effective method of saving a member by outreach is the informal courtesy non-planned phone call. What do I mean by that? Keep in mind when you reach out, ask yourself this, like put your consumer hats on, all of you, right now. If you are a gym member, or you belong to a health club or a country club, whatever the case might be, you pay a subscription fee to something right now, currently. This will be even better if you do, because you'll understand it better. You put in a cancellation for whatever it is, with a subscription or a membership or whatever. You want to stop. You don't want to do it anymore. Now, if you get approached by somebody that works at one of these institutions with either script that I'm about to go through with you, I want you to think about what's going to be more effective for you in changing your mind from canceling or calling somebody back and paying something, right? It's easy to say, oh, yeah, I did get a new card, but I didn't want that anyway, so I'm just going to not call those people back. They'll cancel me out. So put yourself in that place, even though you may or may not be people like that. Now, I'm going to come to you. Hello, may I please speak to Amy Brown? Hi, Amy. This is Danielle, spa consultant for Planet Beach Automated Spa here in New Orleans, or Spray and Spa. How are you today, Amy? I was just reaching out to see if there were any other options that you'd like to consider just before proceeding with your cancellation to your titanium membership. We can freeze, we can downgrade, or we can do both if you'd like. Do any of these options sound like something that you consider doing with us now so you don't lose this membership with us? Now, keep in mind, replace anything with canceling this membership with, I understand that the account on file that we don't have for you it just does not work, or we just don't have one, or it's invalid, whatever the case might be. Let's avoid any late fees, right? That's my approach. Seems pretty to the point, right? Some of you might say, yeah, I'd probably say whatever, but let's really look at it. Now, this seems like much more, but as you can see, the difference between sales is short, sweet, to the point, and I'm annoying you. Consulting is a lot more of spending time on the conversation to tell them and give them solutions. So then there's the opposite. There's this one. Hi, is this Amy? Hey, Amy, it's Danielle calling you from Planet Beach over here off Tchoupitoulas. How are you today? Great. Now, of course, if she says bad, don't say great, but you get the point. Hey, Amy, I was just going through my list of cancellations, and I was putting them in process, and then I ran across yours. So, Amy, please tell me that this isn't true, because I know how much you love this membership. You're like addicted to our Hydroderma Fusion treatment, right? As often as you come in here and do it, as sad as it makes me to see, as sad as this makes me to see you go, to have to cancel, I see that this is due to financial hardship. Bro, you know that we work with you, right? You know that we don't use collections agencies, right? This is the part where you talk to them and empathize with them. I wanted to personally reach out to you just because I saw your name, right? I wanted to personally reach out to you and remind you that you did receive the membership benefit of freezing your membership or transferring your membership or downgrading, right? List all three of those when you signed up with us like 8 months ago. See how the research is coming into play here? Now, I wanted to reach out just to you, just in case you might have forgotten this, which I'm sure that you did, but you can definitely do this. So I know that your agreement says that if you want to freeze this, now I know your agreement says it's 3 to 4 month freeze and 20% of whatever your dues are, but hey, listen, we love having you. We don't want to lose you, and we don't want this to be a reason that you go. So that said, let's go ahead and figure out some other solution here for you, Amy. We can work with you on these terms due to your situation. We don't want to lose you. I'd hate for you to have to pay to re-enroll, right? Even worse, you're going to pay twice as much for whenever you come back for the same membership because you're going to come back. They always come back, right? So you're going to come back, and it's already nearly doubled since you've left for this from signing up 6 months ago. That's a typo. Sorry about that. But you get the gist of my message that I'm doing here. If you were a consumer and I came at you that way and said, whoa, what's going on? I don't want to lose you versus the whole, hi, this is your options. Would you like to consider any of this? Asking yes or no questions. What do you think you're going to do? What would you respond better to, right? So this is where being a consumer and putting your consumer hat on and having your best person, your most effective solution-solving person first, foremost do this. This is where it's going to be important for them to be smart. I mean, you can't have, unfortunately, I hate to be straight and blunt to the point. You can't have stupid people doing this, right? So you can't fix stupid. So be sure that that's in place and they understand that importance if it's not going to be you. So let's talk about if you save someone. Okay, well, I'll do that. I'll downgrade, right? Well, that's whenever you're going to file all of this paperwork away because you always want to keep a paper trail of everything. On the notes you took on the back of the copy or on the specific member, you're going to write in a red pen the example below, right? Okay. Please advise on the following changes. Amy will not cancel. Or I did collect dues from Amy. Did I set up a payment plan for each week of the month to be able to catch her back up, whatever the case might be, right? But you're going to take notes on the results of what happened. In a cancellation, she's chose to freeze her account for 5 months and downgrade from titanium to gold upon reactivation, the name of the person and the date that they've done it, right? So saving that and then putting it all in this file work that you're going to create for yourself, it's going to be huge when it comes down to having that insurance, the paper trail. Now, if you're unable to save a membership, this is the fun part, you guys. This is the part that none of you are doing, and I need you guys to put a lot of focus on or have somebody put focus on. If you don't save anybody's membership, if you don't collect from anybody after 2-3 months, whatever the case might be, you want to be able to transfer the membership still, just you do it, not them. That's recycle. So you're going to put the information on any of the back of the request to cancel forms that they've signed or your collection notes or your notes for your cancellations, wherever you're taking your notes. You're going to put on that file that you're going to place in the memberships up for recycle folder up front. You're going to place that in that file. That way, guess what's going to happen? Susie's trying to sell a membership. She's trying to sell a program to a college student that just blew $300 at the mall, but really wants to take advantage of the new membership, right? The membership or the program that she's been pitched by Susie, the consultant. So she's frustrated because she's thinking she's about to have to lose someone because they physically do not have any money on them that day. That's a specific open opportunity for them to be able to take that membership, that program, right, and transfer it for the member. Usually the WIFM in this is, let's say it's a canceling member that says, no, I'll do my 60 days and I want to be done. The WIFM for them to want to transfer is obviously if somebody takes over if they get somebody to take their program or their membership on, they don't have any obligation left with us. They're done, right? I can immediately be done with you. I don't have to worry about another 60 days. So that's something you always want to keep in mind. However, if it's down to the point of you've never collected from this membership, this program, or this is a cancellation, you were just not able to save on a freeze or a transfer or a downgrade, whatever, perfect opportunity, right? Hey, I don't have any money, but I want a membership. Then that's completely fine. Here, take this. Take this program. I have something for you. Oh, I don't have my wallet with me, but I do want to find out if that's a real objection or not. That's fine. You don't have to do any of that. Let's just go ahead and just get you set up on this. This is somebody who's already getting rid of it, right? So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to get you set up on that. So if you have any members that you follow that you need to get followed up with, that you need to who said, well, let me see if I can find somebody, right? Any collections people, any canceling members that you contact in one of these conversations, they say, well, give me a couple of weeks, contact me back. That's when you use that handy dandy call log, and you make it a point every single day to check and see what you need to follow up with who, based on what situation. That's where it's important. This is right here, that very element that's causing you guys not to be able to collect or not to be able to save canceling members. Nobody's following up and using the system. So if anybody said check back with me in a week or so, I may be able to find someone. In the meantime, just put me in queue to cancel. They're not going to call you back. Chances are you're going to call them back that first time, and they're going to forget, and then you're going to have to follow up again, which in that conversation you'll say, do you want us to just do it for you? That way you're not having to be held responsible or accountable or held in this agreement for the next 60 days. But you're going to have that in your file folder that's pending transfers for follow-up, right? That way that stays in there, and you always pull that out whenever you're doing your outreach each week and you're contacting these people based on who you need to follow up with. So bringing all the file folders back up to the front desk that you had to utilize and taking and having this outreach, completing every request form that was in the request to cancel folder, and putting them in the other file folders as you previously instructed, file them away appropriately. That way it's up front and it's easy for anybody to access if a consultant needs to do it to get a new member, or if a franchisee or the spa director, who is the direct report who oversees the person in charge of doing this. That way that right there is your one-stop shop accountability tool to see if they're doing their job. So putting it all back up front and filed away where it's needed is important. Step 7, repeat. You're going to repeat this task and string of tasks once a week to ensure the easy flow of each, not just request to cancel, but collections. You're going to use the first week of the month collections-wise again every single day. And then each week you'll hear on Monday Motivation, I say it all the time, don't spend all of your time chasing people, because we need to focus on growth for the rest of the month. So that's why we say once a week, combine these two tasks. Whoever put their requests in, pay attention to them, consult them. Don't just say, hey, don't cancel, just freeze or transfer. No, okay, thanks for being a member. That's not going to help your net EFT situation. So I, again, recommend this because I never allowed it. But again, I have top spas in my market that say, no, I have all my spa consultants doing this. However, who's allowed to access and modify freezes and cancels? Make sure the restrictions are set. Make sure your consultants are well aware of their boundaries. This is why I think and I recommend that it should just be you or whoever the designated person is in charge of it, because there's no telling in Spa Intel, there is no telling who put what through at what time for transactions, under transactions and payments, or history, payment history, and things like that at this time. So it's super important to be able to have restrictions set where they can't just go in and freeze and cancel anybody based on, well, they were mad and yelling, so I had to, right? Hey, I'm a spa director. My job never stops. Call me on my cell phone next time, dear. So don't have that issue. Who's allowed to access this? This should be the person in charge, the franchisee or the spa director. Couple of tips for you guys. We talked about a recycle of a membership or a program, right? Just to do it or not to do it. That's the age-old question. Now, here's a few signs for you to take advantage of and knowing when to turn it over. If your EFT increase goal is or is projected to being hit for the current month to date, that's whenever you want to be able to add to that and to be able to exceed your bonuses, right? And you need to be able to hit your goals when it comes to and showing your staff and passing that down along to your staff so that you're creating a good environment. It's not actually, that's actually a typo. It's supposed to be EFT increase goal is or is not. So we're not projected to hit our increase goal for the month, right? So we need to keep that in mind. That's whenever that's a good time to pull out a recycle. It's a higher price point membership or program, titanium/gold, right? If it's one of those, always. Customer Express is being able to afford the monthly usage fees but can't pay any money up front for that day. We discussed that. Now, those are times whenever it's direct moments where you say, you know what, I can recycle in times of these. Now, don't recycle if it's an extremely old membership of tanning or very low price points to the member, like the limited at $19. That's not even worth it, honestly, because what can happen is if you have the discussion of, if it's a collections person, don't worry about it. $19 a month still isn't enough. You literally have no money to your name. Don't worry about trying to get that transferred, but incentivize them to getting that for free or getting a higher price point membership for free if they can get X amount of people in the door to use services and become members, right? So, and here's another time that you don't do it, in the beginning of the month. Beginning of the month, the staff's freshly motivated, hopefully because you've been having your meetings, and they know their new numbers, they know their new goals. They're motivated to bring in new members, right? Not focus on anybody who's been lagging behind for the last month or two. So unless it's a last case scenario to drop sell, don't recycle or don't transfer a member or a program for any of the members. Usually this is a pretty self-explanatory answer here to this question, but how much time do you have? Obviously the last visit date, if they're canceling, how much time do you have to collect and work in a cancellations or a turnover or a transfer process? I would give myself 2 weeks to a month, regardless if it's a 60-day situation, regardless if they've gone 2 months uncollected. Start working on a process, but using the call log to be able to follow up with them and say, let's work on getting your program here transferred to somebody else, because what we can do is we can cross that bridge later on. If you ever want to come back, we'll see where we're at with the programs, but until then, have somebody take this. This is just such a great deal, right? So how much time? 2 weeks to a month is always the best advice that I can give to you guys. It's always the best response time on knowing just when to be able to have the conversation or send out a communication about transferring this membership over. Just a few helpful hints to alleviate high volume of members, either in non-collections or requesting to cancel their EFT memberships. First things first, guys, we talk about this a lot, customer service. That's generic, right? You see send cards, thank you, birthday, anniversary, new member follow-up. You guys know the drill. I'm not going to say this again. I'm not going to beat that dead horse, right? What I'm going to tell you is think about your outreach that we talked about a few slides back. The informal / let me help you out approach. Do you know how many members I saved in the past or collected from in the past that they already knew because they knew by the customer experience I provided and service I provided? They were more times than none reaching out to me, asking me for help to work out a plan with them because they just know that I would do that for them. So be aware of that. The chicken egg, what comes first? Be sure that before you have to do all this headache on running after people and collecting, what kind of persona do you have of yourself and your staff and your spa? What do your members think or know about that? Are you constantly having them see you trying to save money for members or trying to save members from leaving? Do they know you on that level? Do you have that relationship built and created? That's not only a great retention tool to prevent them from canceling themselves, but it's a great tool for when it comes to collections. Those are the times when they understand that you have that customer service and that experience that's so amazing that'll work with everybody more so than not at all. Then guess what? Chances are before you even run the draft that they don't go through with, they're going to call you and say, look, it's not going to go through. I just paid so many bills. I'm having a tough time. Can you just hold off on charging my card until 2 weeks from now, right? They'll usually come to you, and I can tell you because I created that environment in my spas in the past, and I know some locations, some of you out there do the same as well. Be more proactive and get ahead of it than having to clean up messes and go on damage control and deal with this stuff. As much as you can possibly provide a service like that, obviously following all of these processes of thank you cards and stuff when they become members and staying in touch with them and constantly, putting them on these regime forms and stuff, that's always key. But having them know you, hey, Danielle, really quick, can I get your help with something? I'm sorry to have to ask you this, but is it okay? Can you bend some rules for me? Absolutely, because I love taking $59 a month from you. I will take the hit for the next 2 months, right? So keep that in mind. When pitching an EFT program, slow down and focus on the benefit of freezing and the transfer options. And focus on the fact and let them know. It's obviously not just overcoming an objection, guys, but when you're training staff to this day on sales process, make sure that they know to constantly go over their option to their one-time transfer and their freeze option, as well as we do not use third-party collections agencies, really drive that point home, kind of like how I do with you guys on trainings when you're like, okay, shut up, Danielle, we get the point. You said that 4 times. Is the reason I do it. It's all psychology because it's burned into your brains and you don't forget it. It's the same whenever you're pitching and you're consulting on a new member. That's a good tip that I can give to you that I know I used to obsess over whenever we pitch. That way, they remember that more so, and you did a lot less work of having to run after them because they remember this. And again, they're more likely to call you before it takes place and get something worked out. See to it that your consultants stop focusing on the tanning members that are like, for those of you who've been open a while, now you guys know me. I love the tanning aspect of the business, but there are just some memberships that were, when I was a bed cleaner, still people holding on to, right? The $19 a month, $19.95 a month. If you've been around a while, you know the struggle. Now, make sure your consultants understand that business side of it. Again, we're going back into what's more worth it to me. If I got to give away a couple of cartridges to save $59 a month, I'm profiting the difference in that. I don't mind doing it. Make sure your consultants understand and have that same knowledge, right? Have them stop focusing on these tanning members that might have $19 memberships, $15, $20 memberships, right? Give all their focus to spa members that pay for what we sell, right? A customer service promise, the results, they stick around, they're loyal. Tanners don't, and they're not going to. Chances are you probably don't have many of these people left, and the only reason they're holding on to that is just because whenever they need it, they come back around to use it for, vacations and things like that. But they're almost guaranteed to cancel with the tanning season's end, and you're going to be struggling. Don't chase them. Literally, like when it comes to your cancellations outreach and you see somebody at $19.95 a month, $20.95 a month, $21.95, you see that one, don't waste your time chasing them. Go after the ones that something must be wrong with their account because, they're 59, 69, 79, 89, 99, 109 for those of you who had a couple of members on those. But understand that whoever's in charge of this needs to understand that as well. Now, a couple of task items that I wanted to go through with you before I let you go today. I said I wouldn't keep you long, but I'm sorry for that. I just feel like I need to get these points across to you because this is all about the logistics of the tasks, not what the tasks are. If you're looking at my screen right now, you can see for yourself, this is an example Google Calendar. If you're not using Google, yours is probably set up similar to this. Now, I created this for many of you. I do need to update this now that I'm looking at it. I apologize. But for many of you to remember your tasks for spa directing in general. Now, remember that whenever you do these tasked items and you set up a time each week to be able to do so, it's as simple as double-clicking on the time, and I want to show you how easy and quick it is. If on Wednesdays at noon, maybe at lunch, I want to sit in my car and eat, and I want to do this task, all I got to do is save it. Weekly collections, cancellations, task. I set that to repeat. I want to do it every Wednesday, and I don't ever want it to end, right? And I hit done. Notifications is key. Now, I can sit here and tell you how to use your Google Calendar all day long, but if you're saving stuff in there but you don't have notifications set up to go to any of your outlets, now this one's not set up personally to go to my phone, so you're not going to see cell phone, unfortunately. You're not going to see mobile or text, but there's SMS that pops up on here usually, and you can set notifications for however long in advance you want. So I know I'm going to be busy on a Wednesday at around 11 o'clock. I do this task usually. So because I have my computer up, because I have webinars that I attend, I'll have an email sent like an hour before, right? So then I'll do that 1 hour. And then I'm going to do a pop-up which comes up on my screen up in the top right-hand corner, usually around this area. That's going to pop up, give me a 5-minute heads up. That way, when I set the text message alert, which is an SMS option, right, to be at 1 minute before, I'm going to know that pop-up gave me my 5-minute prep time to drop whatever it is I'm doing, wrap up whatever it is I'm doing, get to my quiet place and get my files, and that 1 minute time goes off. I'm not cutting into my 1 hour or my 2 hours that I dedicated every single week for this. Then after I make sure I pay attention to the notifications and the repeat, I'm going to click save. Now that's going to be in my calendar until I cancel this out. So moving forward, what's going to happen? I'm going to get that email, an hour before, I'm going to get the pop-up notification 5 minutes before, and 1 minute beforehand, I'm going to get a text message, and I'm going to say, bye guys, gotta go. Don't bother me unless somebody's dying or the spa's on fire, and it could be a liability situation, right? So I wanted to show that to you so that way you saw all the steps to follow. I'm not just telling you, I'm showing you how to set it. If you have any questions on using this, please let me know. If you want questions on any of the logistics and details now of anything that we learned today, let me know that as well. But I think that you guys are little eagles. I think you guys got it figured out. Just remember all of the things, all of the tools that are in your hands and how simple this is. These files are accessible on Orion, so make sure that you go and look for that in the Spa Performance folder. If you want me to send those to you separately because you can't find it for whatever reason, let me know and I'll do that for you as well. In the meantime, if you have questions, feel free to email me, send me a chat. I'm better reached through that way just because I'm always running around in different meetings. Until then, we are going to see you we're not going to have a webinar on Friday, guys, because we're not going to be open here at the offices. So you'll receive another event invite, registration link via email or on the Facebook group page for you to be able to attend next Tuesday's webinar, which I'm gonna put that out there as soon as I figure out exactly which one it's going to be based on, because I got to look at you guys' numbers to see what you guys need help in. So anyway, you guys have a great week. Have a great 4th of July. Thank you so much for attending this. If you have additional questions, email me. And until then, don't forget to be awesome, Eagles. We'll talk soon. Bye, guys.
To stop conference